ready? Oh. I think I'll swap that so that you can have that dead. This would be perfect right here. Make sure it's nice and leveled. Oh yeah. Does that look good? I think that looks pretty good. Hello everyone. Welcome back to the DnD Fam YouTube channel. It is good to see you guys again. If you guys don't know who I am, I'm Spicelo or Bryce. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. It's good to see you guys. First and foremost, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the last video that I posted on the channel, talking about Bandai Namco and JC Staff and everything about One Punch Man and everything. At the end of the day, I don't hate Bandai Namco or JC Staff. At the end of the day, I talked to my brother about this after I uploaded the video, and he pretty much just said it. He said, Bandai Namco is a huge company. It's a humongous corporation that has multiple IPs of big name things. They have. I could show you some. They got One Piece trading cards. Look at that. There's the logo right there, Bandai. So they got trading cards. They got video games. They have merchandise. They have so many things. They have animes like One Punch Man. They have so many things that I think when they acquired One Punch Man, the IP of it, they didn't see a reason to put a lot of money into it, because if they did, they didn't think they were going to get a lot of yield out of investing a lot of money into it, which that's what they do. That's how, if that's what they think, then that's how they'll do it. They probably are like, oh, we're making a lot more money with our Gundam toys and shit like that, or our video games or other things. And at the end of the day, people like me are gonna still support Bandai Namco because we like buying the stuff that they produce. I like those little Gundam things. I have a Gundam set. I'll show you guys once it's done. I kind of busted the finger of one of them, but I'll show you guys what it is. But it's huge. I got it last Christmas, and it's a lot more intricate than Legos. That's for damn sure. I love Legos when I was a little kid, but that stuff's just a lot more intricate and crazy. There's gonna be some people that do care about it, like the Demon Slayer movie. The people invested money into it, and it became a crazy big movie. Like it was like one of the biggest movies for like anime since in recent years. Like it sold like 500 million or whatever. I don't know exactly the prices for it, but if you invest in it, you're gonna get something out of it. If you really care. So, and that's just how it is. I don't have my wallet with me. I do actually. I have my wallet right here, and there's like this racing game that they have at like malls and stuff, and I have like these Bandai Namco cards, that you have these for like racing car, and they have, you can like customize your own car pretty much, and they're real life cars from different companies, in real life, like Hyundai, all types of cars. I'm not really too crazy about the cars, but racing is pretty cool, and like you can shift and stuff, and there's old ones like these, so I'm still gonna be supporting Bandai at the end of the day. So and there's no hate towards Bandai. I think it's it's just how things work. That's how business works. You know, some people will believe in it and think that, oh, let's invest the money into this IP and we'll see what comes out of it. And usually 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10, it's going to hit, especially if you really get some people that really care about what they're doing. You know, the one thing I'll actually put a person in the description. I mean, this doesn't need me to show any light because he is a great animator. I don't know if he does it by himself or he has other people that help him out, but I think he does it by himself. Uh, I'll just his YouTube in the description, and pretty much he's a guy that's been able to do animation for One Punch Man. You know, make it just way more dynamic and just a lot better than how JC Staff, you know, for the time that they were given, for the 6 to 7 months that they were given. You know, it really shows, you know, the dedication and the love for the game, you know, love for animating and really capturing those moments and stuff like that. So I'll link his name in the description. His name is markReymer. I mean, he's a pretty big YouTuber. He has about 200 280,000 subscribers, and he's uploaded a good amount of videos of just him doing crazy good animation. You know, if anything, they should hire this guy to help out with JC Staff to maybe help bring the anime back to life if they're going to want to continue doing it. So I'll link his channel in the description. I mean, I don't need to really shout him out too much because, you know, his videos prove itself. You know, proves what true dedication, what true love for, you know, the you know, the anime, the manga, the art. You know, it's really cool and it's really awesome. And I'm pretty sure not just me, a lot of people that are fans of the One Punch Man anime, manga, you know, can appreciate a guy like him. But today we're actually going to be talking about some D&D stuff today. You know, we're not going to be talking about any more of the Bandai Namco JC Staff and stuff, you know. That is what it is, you know. But anyways, we're going to be talking about something completely different. And it's about D&D, but it's also about something that I actually just showed you guys, which is One Piece. Because the last video that I talked about, I can also link him in the description too, but these two YouTubers are huge YouTubers, bigger than this channel anyway, so I don't think there's any reason for me to describe them or anything. But the main reason why I even started doing D&D was this YouTuber by the name of Rustage, Daniel Rustage. And he is a great DM. He does like the first D&D series that he's done was on his second channel, because his main YouTube channel he does like rapping and stuff about anime and stuff like that. And it's really good. You know, he's a really good rapper, and he's like British, I think. But yeah, no, he's a very talented guy, and he does One Piece D&D, a One Piece D&D series. So he's really talented, really expressive, and he's good. He's really good at storytelling. So it kind of inspired me to want to do D&D myself. That's why we created the DnD Fam YouTube channel. But it was also based on other things too. But he was one of the inspirations. You know, there's a lot of other, you know, YouTubers, people that have done D&D in the past that have, you know, really inspired me to want to try to be a better DM. Even though, you know, I'm still very new at this. I've only been really into this kind of hobby for about, I would say over a year. I would say about 2 years. You know, since I created this YouTube channel. Oh, Siri's talking to me. But sorry for the distraction. But yeah, so today we're actually going to be talking about something because of his inspiration, of Daniel Rustage's inspiration for me to want to create this channel. I was thinking that it would be a really cool thing to talk about the main characters of the One Piece world. You know, Monkey D. Luffy, Zoro, the entire crew, and see what they would be if they were in the D&D world. If they had a class, what class they would be, what type of fighter would they be, based on the character that they are in the anime/manga. So, I was thinking that because it's the first video of this, and if you guys are interested in me doing more of these, I could definitely do more, because there's a lot more characters in general and on the crew that we could do. Um, so, I was thinking that for this video, we could talk about the main three characters, the big three, the monster trio of the One Piece world. And it's Monkey D. Luffy, Zoro, and Roronoa Zoro, and Vinsmoke Sanji, or Blackfoot Sanji, or whatever, Firefoot Sanji, whatever. So, let's get into the three characters, what they would, what their classes would be, and how, their stats and everything like that. Just kind of the basic stuff of just their character. And if you are interested in maybe playing as that character, you can maybe implement that yourself. Who knows? Maybe you want to be a character that just wants to be like Sanji, that uses not his fists but his feet to kick. He wants to be your kicker. Who knows? I actually created a character that's like a ballerina guy, and he likes to do kicking. He's kind of like, what's his name? Bon Clay. So we're gonna start off first with the cook of the crew, and that is Vinsmoke Sanji, or Sanji. If you guys want to get invested into the anime, which I recommend, just do so. At the end of the day, just don't even care about paying too much mind. Just watch it, just put it on, and just do laundry, do stuff in the background. That's what I do. I'm actually pretty much caught up with it. I watch the English version, unfortunately. I can't watch Japanese. I need to learn Japanese to really get it, because then I have to look at the words instead of the show itself. So that's, yeah. I'm that guy. First guy, my favorite character, my favorite member of the Straw Hat crew actually is Sanji. I love Sanji. Sanji's one of my favorite characters. You guys like Sanji? Oh, Sanji's such a cool guy. For him, he would definitely be. Personally, I would say that, and we could all talk about this in the comments below if you guys have any other opinions. I would like to hear, especially people that know a little bit more about D&D than I do. This is just kind of my basic understanding of their characters and who they are and what their classes and stuff would be. So Sanji, in my personal opinion, I would say that Sanji would be a monk class. He would be a monk class, or maybe a hunk slash monk slash fighter, multi-class. So because personally, I think because of his, monks, because they have those extra attacks. Also, fighters do have extra attacks too. Fighters have action surge. But I feel like because of Sanji and him kicking a lot more, I feel like that kind of represents a little bit more monks with like fury of blows. And instead of using your fists, you could use your feet to kick. You know what I mean? He used to kick the, like you've seen. I don't know if people watch One Piece, but you see how Sanji kicks. He doesn't just kick one time and he's done. He's gonna keep kicking. He's gonna keep kicking until you're out for the count. So, yeah. So I would say that he's either a monk or a fighter with action surge as a fighter. Just throw your blows and just multi attacks and stuff. I think that's what Sanji would do for that. And his high stats would be, he would have high dexterity and high wisdom or constitution. And I also looked it up. He could also pick up a chef feat, like a cooking feat, I guess, which means that he's pretty much like a master at cooking. I mean, he already is very skilled at cooking. So, I mean, just if you want to be a guy that wants to be good at cooking, just talk to your DM. I'm pretty sure he can just give it to you. But the main thing that he wouldn't be too good at is his lower stats would be his strength, and probably his lowest would be his charisma. Due to him simping over women, uh, it's not, he, I would say he has enough charisma to be able to just be content, like be able to live, but he's not charismatic as to be able to woo over women and stuff like that. So, you know, you could tell by how he is in the story. So I would say that he has a low charisma for just conversating with women specifically. He would have, if Sanji were to talk to a woman, he would have to roll with disadvantage, with like negative stats, because that's how bad it is. And you would always roll with just negatives, and you just nosebleeds and you just pass out. So, but the one thing I think that would be really cool with Sanji is you could talk to your DM, of course, but you could also have your kicks be flavor your kicks to have element damage, kind of like how Sanji has his flaming kick attacks. Sanji does have flaming kick attacks. Maybe if you want to do different types of moves, maybe you could have it as your kicks be flavored as, frost damage, or, burning damage or something like that. It could be different types of damage, maybe even poison damage, something like that. It's really up to what you and the DM that you're working with could really help out with. But yeah, Sanji, pretty much just a monk fighter, high dexterity, wisdom, and constitution, because he's pretty dexterous guy. But he's not really the strongest guy compared to the three of the monster trio. And I also wanted to let you guys know that I'm not going to have all of the same classes. I want to kind of change them, because some people might agree that some characters are this class and this class. That's why it's good for us to have a discussion down in the description below. So let me know your guys' opinions on if these classes are good, or maybe they should be different, swapping them to different things. So I'll let you guys know, because they're not all going to be monk class. They're all not going to be fighter classes. I mean, obviously, if you want to make it easy for me, just put them in all fighter class, because they technically are all fighters, but we want to flavor it in a way to make it so that they're not all one class. Because at the end of the day, that would be kind of boring and lame having a party of the same people with all the same class. I don't think that would, because then you would all do pretty much the same stuff. So, I don't think that would be an entertaining game. So, next, we're going to be talking about the three sword style, green haired moss hair guy, Roronoa, Zoro. We'll just call him Zoro. Not that Zoro. This Zoro. Yes, that Zoro. Not this Zoro that I remember when I was a kid. Because I actually haven't watched I actually didn't start watching One Piece until around 2022, 2023, I think. Recent. Definitely in the 2020s, that's for sure. And definitely love the story, but when I hear the name Zoro, I'm thinking of this Zoro. But, now we got two Zoros. Now we got to see which one will win in a fight. I guess you guys can discuss that in the comments below. Which one of these Zoros will win? But anyways, enough of that discussion. Let's talk about Zoro and his class. So he would be a battle master fighter class, and a samurai class. Apparently there's a class that has samurai. I don't know if you could talk to your DM about that. I don't know if it's in the guidebook. But I would say that he is pretty much kind of like a samurai, ninja type of guy, because he has three swords. And I would say that his highest stats would be strength and constitution. I would say strength would probably be the highest stat that he has, and then constitution would be lower, second highest. And then maybe dexterity. I would say dexterity would probably be around third highest. Not as high as Sanji's, though, because Sanji... I would say, I compared the two, I would say Sanji is definitely a lot more dexterous compared to Zoro. And, his low stats, of course, he has low intelligence, unless he's talking about, his swords or fighting or anything of that sort. He's probably very smart at sword talk and all that jazz. But he definitely has terrible navigation skills. I would say he has negative disadvantage rolls on wherever he's going because he doesn't know where up and down is, where left and right is, where in and out is. And that's the funniest shit. I love that. I love that. That's one of my favorite gags about him. Navigation skills is terrible. And yeah, he would also be a dual wield fighter with 3 swords, so you could flavor it to, you know, him being able to have 3 attacks because he has 3 swords. And yeah, just know that whoever has this build, you know, is gonna be pretty OP. It's gonna be that's pretty monstrous, because that means Zoro is a monster in himself. So whoever takes that build is building a monster man, just a straight killer. Zoro's smart. I would say he's intelligent enough to be just able to live a normal life just on an island if he wanted to. He's not smart with direction. So I think that's the funny shit. So yeah, so that's Zoro. He's a samurai battle master fighter class, high strength and constitution, and maybe dexterity. Not as high as Sanji's though, but he has low intelligence. Yeah, I would say he has probably the lowest intelligence and probably low wisdom. I mean, probably not crazy wisdom. He likes to sleep, so I would say it's kind of low too. And now, last but certainly not least, the man himself, the guy that wants to be king of the pirates, Monkey D. Luffy. I've seen a lot of videos. There's a lot of videos on YouTube that have even just made just straight videos talking about, you know, what his class would be. Some people are saying warlock, some people are saying fighter, some people are saying monk, some people are saying barbarians, some people are saying other things, you know. And this is where you guys can let me know in the comments below what you guys think Luffy, in your opinion, and all these guys, and you know, all the Straw Hats, all the characters. You know, we'll be talking more about these characters in the future if you guys are interested in more of these types of videos. But, you know, in my personal opinion, I think Luffy is a barbarian with a multi-class in either fighter or monk. You know, based on your guys' opinion, but in my opinion, I think Luffy is more of a barbarian than anything else. I mean, you could obviously say that he's a monk class because he's inspired by Sun Wukong, so obviously you want to give him a monk class, or a fighter class because it gives you action surge, and that's something that Luffy would probably do. He would probably have action surge. But I just feel like, based on how Luffy is, and, you know, because of the types of classes that they are, you kind of determine how they would act in a way, you know. And I feel like they all kind of represent each other in a way. And I feel like Barbarian represents Luffy in a way perfectly because he's reckless. He's very reckless. He's just gonna go in head first and fight no matter what. And I feel like that's what a Barbarian would do. You know, I feel like monks are a little bit more cautious, a little bit more relaxed. You know, and that's kind of what I think Sanji is. Fighters are kind of like what Zoro is. They're content, they're ready, but they're respectful. They're not gonna, you know. They're gonna fight the correct way. They're not gonna, you know, do some cheap shit, you know. And Luffy, he's just gonna go balls to the wall and beat your ass because that's what he is. To have a multi-class, obviously, I think that would be perfect. Have him be a barbarian with a multi-class and monk, or a multi-class and fighter, depending on what you want. You could have the fighter for the action surge, or you can have the monk class for the fury of blows and the key points and all that stuff. And that's good because Luffy would have those extra attacks, kind of like Sanji too, in a way. So, you know, really depends on what you want. If you were to play a Luffy, it depends on what you want as a player yourself, you know. Since he's a barbarian, he could take like a feat, which is the path of the giant, and based on his devil fruit, which is the gum fruit, which can help him like travel, like stretch his limbs and stuff. I would think that would make it a lot easier for the person to travel long distances and stuff. And maybe they could take half damage from bullet shots. If they get shot, they take half damage, or and then they could take double damage because of slashing damage, because of the story. Spoilers. Sorry. I'm gonna make sure to have a disclaimer. Spoilers alert. Yeah, so slashing damage would just be extra damage for him extra damage taken, while he takes half damage for bullets shot, because bullets don't hurt him as much as getting sliced. And because of taking the path of the giant and the devil fruit and stuff, you could flavor it so that when he's in rage, and because he has his gears, second gear could be the rage. So if you want to go into rage, you go into second gear, rage, second gear, you know. Gear 3 is like the big arm, gear 4 is like the big body one. So maybe that could be it, you know. So like gear 3, he could giant, make his a big arm giant, his like hand like a giant, or his foot or something, or his head. And then gear 4, you could just become a big giant that could fly everywhere or whatever. Yeah, so I think that'd be pretty cool. And his stats, if anyone's interested in stats, he would have high charisma. I would say that that would probably be his highest stat because of his likable personality, because he's just a likable dude. He has a likable personality, and, you know, even though he's a pirate, he has friends from all over the place, and, you know, he's just a G. While his intelligence is not the best. I would say that he's not. I would say that, I mean, he is not the smartest person on the crew. I would say that he is the dumbest. So, yeah, his intelligence is probably pretty low. Not as low as where he can't speak, but just low to where he needs people around him to help him out with stuff. So that'd be pretty much it. Yeah. So yeah, that's all of the characters. That's all 3 of the monster trio. Sanji, a monk. Zoro, a samurai fighter class, and Luffy, a barbarian with a multi-class, and, you know, either monk or fighter, whichever you prefer. So, you know, I think that that's pretty good for these 3 guys. If we were to create them in the D&D world, you know, if they were to be in the D&D world, what they would be, what their stats would be, and all that stuff. And what's good is there's a lot more One Piece characters where that came from. So those were kind of just the main, kind of three main characters I loved. I mean, I love Luffy. Zoro was actually one of my favorite characters, but I slowly started to become a Sanji fanboy, and I love Sanji. I'll actually show you something before I'm over with this. I've been collecting. As you've seen I've been collecting some One Piece cards. I'm actually going to be collecting some One Punch Man cards too. So I'll show you guys that in the future, but for now I'll show you guys some of these. I collect Pokemon. Pokemon's cool and all that, but One Piece I think is just so cool, so sick. And I have some. I don't know if you guys can see. That's the Sanji Kun's. And I just have Pokemon and other One Piece stuff, so, you know, I'll fill them up and show you guys maybe if you guys are interested in cards and stuff like that. But, you know, I love Sanji. Sanji's one of my favorite characters. Got a little statue of him up there too. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys are interested in me possibly doing more characters on the Straw Hat crew, you know, we got the Weak Trio, and, you know, the Weird Trio. We got just a bunch of more characters that we could continue this, and we don't even need to continue with the Straw Hat crew. We could go to maybe the Marines, or maybe we could go to a different pirate crew like Trafalgar Law, or some other characters that are in the story. You know, I'm willing to dive into and just give you a basic rundown of what they would be in a D&D setting. That's why I've seen not just Rustage, but I think because of him and because of One Piece in general, has inspired so many other people on YouTube to create One Piece D&D content, and I think that's fantastic. I think it's so cool that people want to do it themselves and create a pirate crew and do their own thing. So I think that's really sick. So if you guys are interested in me wanting to do more of these types of videos, just please let me know in the comments down below. I hope to see you guys again in the next video. Appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you guys later.